My sister faked cancer to steal my moment of glory. I exposed her lies in front of everyone at her own party. She screamed, my mom gasped, and I turned on the TV revealing the proof. My years of hiding achievements exploded in that moment. Once my parents' golden child. Sasha crumbled as her bald cap fell, blonde hair cascading. The guests stood frozen as she fled. Growing up, I idolized my sister Sasha. I dressed like her, copied her every move, cheered at her wins. On my 12th birthday, I gave her my brand new pink glitter bike. She rolled her eyes and pushed it into traffic. I froze. That crushed bike became the first symbol of how little my joy mattered to her. Aunt Helen hugged me tight that night. That hug, not the bike, stayed with me for years. In high school, Sasha rigged the election for student council president. I caught her swapping ballots, but when I told the principal, she cried and blamed me. I got suspended. Aunt Helen believed me. She brought me ice cream and whispered, "Keep receipts." That became our phrase. From then on, I kept a journal of every strange thing Sasha did. It wasn't justice, but it gave me something. Sasha couldn't take my version of the truth. College acceptance came, my name printed in bold. That same day, Sasha shaved her head a stage 3. She whispered to Mom. My room became her recovery space. My acceptance letter vanished. I confronted her. She cried louder. Aunt Helen raised a brow but stayed silent. I began backing up files, scanning papers, hiding evidence. Dad refused to believe anything bad about her. I started doubting myself. Was I cruel, or was she just that manipulative? A week later, Sasha accused me of stealing her pain meds. Dad believed her. Mom searched my bag. I cried, humiliated. Helen took me aside, handed me a recorder. Use it. That night, I caught Sasha laughing on the phone, saying, "She's so easy to frame." I saved the file. Still, I said nothing. It wasn't enough. I needed more. Sasha wasn't going to stop. How do you expose someone the whole world pities? Sasha collapsed at my scholarship ceremony. Paramedics arrived. She whispered, "I can't breathe," while glancing at me. Everyone gasped. The ceremony halted, my award forgotten. Helen's eyes narrowed. Later, she reviewed footage. Sasha walking fine outside. Texting. I burned with rage. My name erased again. My counselor suggested I defer college. Sasha smiled weakly in her hospital bed. I clenched my teeth. If no one else would enter game, I would. Helen emailed me Sasha's fake test results, identical scans from different clinics. She'd dug deep. We met at a diner. I slammed the table, trembling. "We go public." Helen hesitated. "Your parents won't forgive you." I didn't care. Sasha faked illness to erase me. Helen handed over everything, emails, photos, timestamps. I hugged her hard as she whispered, "Stay sharp." I walked home holding the folder like a weapon. For once, I wasn't the victim. I sent anonymous copies of Sasha's forged documents to our parents. Nothing happened. Days passed. Then Mom called, furious not at Sasha, but at me. "How dare you attack your sister during treatment?" I hung up, hands shaking. Sasha winked over dinner, slicing her steak like nothing happened. Helen texted, "It's not over." My folder grew thicker. I whispered to myself, "Next time, no mercy." The line between family and enemy had vanished completely. On Sasha's birthday, our house buzzed with guests. Helen arrived late. Nodding to me, I stepped up, remote in hand. "There's something you all need to see." I hit play. Footage of Sasha walking, laughing, mocking us filled the screen. Gasps echoed. Sasha bolted toward me, shrieking lies. She yanked the cords from the TV. Aunt Helen filmed every second. My parents froze. I finally screamed, "She's been lying to you for years." Dad grabbed Sasha's arm. "Explain this." She slapped him. Silence swallowed the room. Mom burst into tears. Helen stepped between them. "You needed proof. There it is." Sasha ran upstairs. I followed. She locked the door. "You ruined me." She screamed. "You did that yourself." I answered. Behind the door. She wept. My hands shook, but I didn't regret it. The bald cap, left on the bathroom counter, was the last lie she couldn't hide. That night, Mom asked, "Why doesn't you tell us sooner?" I stared at her. "You never listened." She flinched. Dad handed me the apology card Sasha had written earlier, dated before the party. "She knew you'd expose her." I pocketed it. Aunt Helen sat beside me, silent support. Sasha didn't come down for cake. I stayed awake, watching the bald cap on the kitchen table. My childhood ended with that lie. Nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, Sasha was gone. A note: "Tell them whatever you want, I'm done." Helen checked local clinics. No records, no cancer, no treatment, just layers of lies. Dad sat at the kitchen table. Hill, I believed everything. I didn't respond. Mom called every hospital, nothing. Aunt Helen updated me hourly. I returned to the folder, labeling it survival. That day, I mailed my deferred college acceptance. I wasn't waiting for closure, I was creating it. 3 days later, Sasha was admitted to a private residential therapy center. Aunt Helen made the call. I didn't visit. The house felt empty without her chaos. Mom tried baking, burnt the cookies. Dad barely spoke. I started packing. The necklace Sasha once gave me, engraved "Best Sisters," sat tangled in my drawer. I didn't know if I hated her or pitied her. I only knew one thing: I wasn't letting her story erase mine again. The night before I left for college, Helen gave me a notebook. On the first page, "Truth matters more than comfort." We hugged for a long time. In my suitcase, I placed the folder, every lie documented, every betrayal named. It wasn't just for me anymore. It was a legacy of survival. I took one last look at the bald cap. This time, I didn't cry. I closed the door behind me. The future was mine now. College felt like freedom. No Sasha, no sabotage. I excelled. Then, an anonymous Instagram account surfaced. "Sick Truth exposed," mocking Sasha, tagging me. The captions used phrases from my journal. My stomach dropped. I hadn't shared that with anyone. Helen confirmed her email was hacked. The folder was online. Sasha's story went viral for the wrong reasons. I faced backlash, cyberbullying accusations, betrayal claims. The narrative twisted. I wasn't just surviving, I was suddenly the villain, and I had no idea who posted it. The university summoned me. "Did you create the account?" I shook my head, but doubt hung in the air. Helen met me outside. You need to take control of this. She helped me post a video, my face, my voice, my truth. I shared Sasha's manipulation, the bald cap. The evidence, I didn't defend, I explained. The video went viral again, but this time comments shifted. Empathy rose, some still hated me, but others saw the pain behind the proof. Days later, I got an email from Sasha. I didn't leak it, but I'm not surprised someone did. My hands shook. You destroyed me, I typed. Her reply, I destroyed myself. You just told the truth. I stared at the screen, no apology, just clarity. Helen said, let the past rot or compost, it's your choice. I printed the email, slid it into the folder this time. I labeled the section consequences. The story wasn't over, but I had control. In class, a girl whispered, you're the cancer fraud sister. I froze, then said, no, I'm the one who exposed her. That moment changed everything. Another girl clapped, slowly nods followed. After class, someone asked for a copy of my story for her journalism project. I emailed the folder summary. Helen called that night. Your truth is helping others. I walk campus differently now, shoulders back. No shame, just a folder full of hard-earned pages and power. A week later, Sasha's therapist emailed me. Sasha had given consent. At Sasha's reflection essay, I wanted to be loved more than I wanted to be good, she wrote. I thought if Addison didn't shine, I could. I read it twice, then 3 more times. I didn't forgive her. But I understood her wound. I printed the essay and placed it in the folder's final section, truth. It didn't erase anything, but it added a dimension I never expected. At a campus open mic, I read an excerpt from the folder. The crowd was silent, then applause. Afterwards, a student approached. My brother did something similar. I thought I was crazy. We hugged. I gave her a copy of Helen's phrase keep receipts. The folder wasn't just mine anymore. It became a resource, a mirror, a guide. Sasha's lies bred chaos, but my truth seeded strength. And that strength kept growing, one shared story at a time. Helen sent me an article, my story, reframed by a journalist who's attended the open mic, Courage and Betrayal. The title read, I smiled. The piece was raw, but fair. Comments flooded in, survivors. Siblings, parents, people thanking me. Sasha's story had become a touchstone, not for her illness, but for mine, for the gaslighted, the doubted. I mailed the journalist back. Thank you for telling it right. Then I closed my laptop and finally slept soundly. Mid-semester, I got a message from a local therapist. Would you speak at our family recovery group? I hesitated, then said yes. The room was small, faces raw. I told my story not as a victim, but a survivor. People cried, people nodded. Afterwards, a father hugged me, whispering, you helped me understand my daughter. That night, I added a new page to the folder, healing, not Sasha's, not mine alone, but something shared, something necessary, something powerful. A professor pulled me aside after class. Your story, it's compelling. Ever consider memoir? The idea scared me, but I nodded. He offered guidance. I began writing late into the night. The folder transformed, digital, expanded. Sasha's manipulation, my fight, Helen's guidance. It became chapters. I cried sometimes, laughed others. It wasn't therapy, it was something else, reclamation. I titled the draft Receipt Keeper. It wasn't about revenge, it was about remembering clearly, so no one else could rewrite it. Finals week hit hard, stress mounted. One night I broke down, cried in the shower. Not over grades but the emotional residue. I missed normal, missed what Sasha and I might have had. Then a text, thinking of you today, proud of your voice. It was from Sasha. Just that. No manipulation, no plea. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it. I screenshot it. Filed it under maybe. Hope wasn't trust, but it was a start. Winter break arrived. I went home. Sasha wasn't there. Her room empty but clean. On her desk sat a package for Addison. Inside, the glitter bike bell from our childhood, scratched, dented, but whole. A note. I kept it. I was wrong. I held it in my palm, stunned. The bell rang when I shook it. Aunt Helen whispered, she's trying. I placed it on my desk. Not as a gift but as a reminder. Even damage can carry meaning. Sasha sent one more letter. No apology. Just a list, things I took, things I ruined, things I wish I hadn't. Honest, brutal. I read it 5 times. Aunt Helen said, that's more than most ever give. I tucked it behind the folder's cover. I didn't frame it, didn't reply, but it lived beside the evidence now. Not to balance it but to show what came after. Truth had layers, and so did the story we shared. My memoir draft was complete. I emailed it to my professor, to Helen, and impulsively to Sasha. She replied, you told the truth, thank you. That was it. No edits. No complaints. The silence that followed felt healing. Helen toasted me that night with sparkling cider. To clarity, I smiled. The folder sat closed on my bookshelf now. Not hidden, just resting. It had served its purpose, and so had I. The next chapter was mine to write. At a bookshop event, I read aloud again. A woman in the crowd asked, do you talk to your sister now? I paused, sometimes carefully. Laughter and empathy rippled. Afterwards, she handed me a bracelet, beaded, handmade for strength. I wore it home. Sasha hadn't disappeared. Her shadow still hovered, but so did my light. And light, I'd learned, didn't erase shadows, it revealed them. And let me walk anyway. The audience clapped, but my heartbeat stayed calm. Months later, Sasha visited just once. She brought soup, sat at the edge of my couch. I'm not fixed, she said. I'm learning. I nodded. We watched a movie in silence. No apologies, no accusations, just a flicker of normal. When she left, she forgot her scarf. I didn't chase her. I folded it, placed it beside the bike belt. 2 artifacts, 2 choices. I was no longer waiting for her to heal. I had healed myself. A year after everything, I spoke at a trauma symposium. Helen sat front row, beaming. My talk, truth is resistance. I ended with our phrase, keep receipts. Applause thundered after. A teenage girl hugged me. Your story saved me. That moment, bigger than revenge, deeper than pain, became my new folder's first page. Not Sasha's story anymore, not even mine alone. Ours, rewritten, reclaimed, redefined. I walked off stage knowing I hadn't just survived. I'd built something that might outlive me. College brought peace. Sasha entered therapy. We exchanged cautious emails. She helped me with organic chem once. The trust wasn't there, but the wounds stopped bleeding. The necklace she gave me stayed tucked in my drawer, beside her forgotten scarf. My achievements were finally mine. I studied, I ran, I smiled more. When people asked about my family, I didn't lie. I just said, we're learning, and that was enough. My silence no longer hid my truth. Years passed. Sasha texted more often, saved messages. No guilt. We met for coffee once, she cried. I listened, no forgiveness promised, just space. On my desk, a framed photo us as kids on bikes. Faded, cracked, real. The bike bell now hangs beside it. A reminder some stories fracture. But healing isn't perfection, it's continuation. I built a life rooted in clarity. Helen's words echo still, truth matters more than comfort. I live by that, always will.